everyone. Welcome back to Relax with Animal Facts. I am Steph Wolf, and today I'm going to be learning with you about our furry, scaly, or possibly even slimy friends. And in today's case, we are definitely going to be learning about our little furry friend, the Wombat. So before we just dive into this very exciting episode, whenever we cover a marsupial, that's, I guess, a little spoiler alert, that's the first fact of the episode. Yes, wombats are marsupials. But before we get into this furry little marsupial, just a few things that I want to say. The first thing I want to say is that this is a very, very special listener episode dedicated to Sarah and her daughter, who wrote in via Instagram. Thank you so very much for writing in, Sarah, and you guys listening. I hope you know how much you guys just rock. I'm so happy that you're passionate about animals enough to write into the show, and that goes out to each and every one of you who continue to write into the show. And I always get so giddy whenever I get a new message from you guys. I can't even tell you. So thank you so much for writing in, Sarah, and your great daughter. You guys rock. And this podcast would not be possible without you guys and with all of you listening at home. So if you want to have your podcast episode or your own animal, I guess, on the podcast, you can write in either through email to relaxwithanimalfacts@gmail.com, or if you'd like, you could also follow the show on Instagram, Relax with Animal Facts, and send a direct message. I reply to each and every one of you that send a message in. So thank you guys, and I look forward to hearing more of your awesome suggestions. The second thing I want to say is that if you want to support the show, you can follow on Spotify. You can leave a rating if you're on Apple Podcasts or iTunes, wherever you are. Ratings are always super helpful to bring more people to the podcast so we can have a bigger podcast family and we can all relax to animal facts together. Alternatively, you can also go to relaxwithanimalfacts.com. We have a merch store with sweaters, t-shirts, blankets, pillows, kids' clothing, anything that you guys could want, it's on there. I guess not everything that you could want, but there's a good amount of stuff that is on there. And there's all the social media links and everything like that. So if you're getting lost, you can always go to relaxwithanimalfacts.com, and it's all right there for you. So a quick disclaimer, I am not an animal researcher, I am not an animal biologist, I am just a simple guy that loves to learn about animals and who loves to, I guess, relax with my chamomile tea at the same time and keep you guys company while you and I listen and learn together. So why don't we all just take a second, scan our bodies. Let's look at where are we carrying some tension. Maybe we've had a stressful day at school, at work, wherever you've been today, or maybe it's the beginning of your day. No matter what, you can always scan your body and see, where are you holding tension? Maybe it's in your shoulders, maybe it's in your legs. Just go ahead and try to notice where you're holding this tension and just give it a quick relax, okay? So let's relax our bodies and let's go right into this immersive experience with me, Steph Wolf. I'm going to be going through this with you guys. We're going to be stepping into the wet, partly forested areas that are on the coast and on the ranges and western slopes where the wombat currently lives. I got my facts from nationalgeographic.com, mentalfloss.com, and rainforest.com.au. So a big shout out to those three resources. If you ever want to go and read the articles for yourself or maybe research more about them, you can always check out the resources I give at the top of the show. This large, stocky animal is a marsupial. Now, marsupial is the classification that are given to animals that have pouches. Okay, so just you can think of marsupials as pouched animals. Okay, and they are found in Australia and on the scattered islands nearby. And like other marsupials, the wombat gives birth to tiny, undeveloped young that crawl into the pouch of the mother's belly. And a wombat baby remains in its mother's pouch for about 5 months or so before emerging. And even after it leaves the pouch, the young animal will frequently crawl back in to nurse or to escape danger. So this pouch is super important to marsupials. It provides warmth, it provides protection from predators, and absolutely exclusive to marsupials. You're not going to see a mammal that has a pouch that works in this way, or has a pouch, I guess, at all. By about 7 months of age, a young wombat can care for itself. So we see here that the age of maturity is about 7 months. Now, when we compare this to humans, of course, this seems as if it is very quick, but this is decently common as a time frame in the animal kingdom. You know, some animals are forced to be self-sustaining right off the bat, right at birth, while we have other animals that are closely related to humans, such as primate species, taking a lot longer for them to be able to self-sustain, hunt by themselves, just be able to live on their own. Now, there are 3 species of wombat right now. They are the common wombat, the critically endangered northern hairy-nosed wombat, that is quite a mouthful, and the southern hairy-nosed wombat. So that is very cool that they have a total of 3 species. I think recently on the podcast, on the previous episodes, we've been getting a lot of animals that have upwards of 20 to plus 20 species. So here we see an animal, a creature, that has just 3. Now, here's an interesting fact, is that their pouches face backwards. Unlike most marsupials, the pouch a wombat uses to carry her young opens towards her rear rather than her face, so meaning towards her butt, okay? If we're not talking about scientific terms here, the pouch of a wombat opens towards the butt of the mother rather than the face. I feel like researchers would have a lot more fun if they used little words like butt instead of rear. Anyways, this distinction allows mother wombats to dig without scooping dirt into her baby's home. Because wombat bodies are fairly low to the ground, this backward-facing pouch orientation also provides extra protection to the baby as well. Or, as we see animals that are native to Australia, baby for them is going to be Joey. Okay, so baby wombats are known as Joeys. Just like koalas are named Joeys and kangaroos, whenever we see animals that are native to Australia, they are going to be Joeys at birth, okay? And I gotta say, I love that. So while the wombat is walking, it is going to provide extra protection to the baby with this posterior-facing pouch. Now, they appear in ancient human artwork. So depictions of wombats are rarely seen in ancient Aboriginal rock art, but one of the exceptions can be found in Australia's Wollemi National Park. And the wombat drawing on the wall of a rock shelter in the area is believed to date back about 4,000 years. So that is very, very cool. So wombats like to live a burrowed life. They have these very strong claws that they use to dig burrows in the open grasslands and eucalyptus forests. Now, they live in these burrows, which can become extensive tunnels and these tunnel and chamber complexes, which I think is just awesome. Common wombats are solitary and inhabit their own burrows, while the other two species may be more social and live together in larger burrow groups that are called colonies. I always find it fascinating that there are animals, they could be marsupials, could be mammals, that enjoy the burrow life. I don't know if enjoy is the right word, but they survive by using burrows. And sometimes these burrows can be incredibly intricate. There's insects that use burrows. There are different kind of animals that use them. And these burrows can be fairly intricate and complex. And we see here that in wombats, they generally don't like to share among the common wombat species, but with the other two, sometimes they will allow someone else or other wombats to call that burrow home. So sometimes they do like to share. They have a primarily vegetarian diet, okay? So they are nocturnal and emerge to feed at night on grasses, roots, and bark. So I shouldn't say primarily vegetarian diet because that goes to infer that they do eat some meat, but they do not, okay? They have a strictly vegetarian diet. They have two rodent-like incisors that will never stop growing, and they are kept in check by gnawing on some of the tougher vegetarian foods that are available. And for reasons that are not well understood, their feces are cube-shaped, which is really interesting. It's one of the more unusual facts about wombats that their poop resembles, it's written here in the article that it resembles an 80s toy craze rather than what would be actual animal feces. I find it very interesting that nature looks around and says, hey, a lot of animals poop this way. Why don't we try a different shape? And it just went ahead, and here they see that they poop in cubes. Now, I don't mean to say that in a way that is that nature just gets to decide, hey, this is what we want to do now. That's absolutely not how it works. I'm just poking a little bit of fun here, having a little fun with it. Apparently, having this cube-shaped waist allows it to stop rolling off of territory that is marked by the individuals on rocks or trees, and I think that is just very, very cool. Now, speaking of posteriors here, their butt is the main form of defense that they have. So the wombats have a rear end that is their main form of defense against predators. They will dive down their burrows and block off the entrance with their kind of armored butts. This is because their posteriors are made primarily of cartilage, making it very resistant to scratches and bites from maybe different kinds of animals. And they actually have the ability to crush predators' skulls with their behinds. Wow, that is just so incredible to me. And they have a very close relative here that might be interesting. Although koalas can be physically compared to bears, pigs, and guinea pigs, the closest living relative to the wombat is actually the koala. Now, although they might not look very physically similar, both species do have these backward-facing pouches. If you're wondering what a group of wombats is called, it is called a wisdom. Now, I'm not exactly sure why it is called a wisdom. Maybe they are fairly intelligent creatures. We haven't learned from this yet, but I'm sure that they got a lot of brains to come with this title. The heaviest wombat that was ever recorded was Patrick the bare-nosed wombat, who was also the oldest, about 31 years old. They lived at Ballarat Wildlife Park, and he weighed about 38 kilograms, which is about 4 koalas combined. And I think that it is a trend among almost every animal that we've covered, that there will be animals found of the species that will be abnormally large for whatever reason. They can run pretty fast. Now, if I was to pull up a picture and show it to you of the wombat, you wouldn't think that they can run very fast, but don't let their looks deceive you. These marsupials can run at speeds of about 40 kilometers an hour. For those of you that live in the US, that's about 25 miles an hour, which is only a little bit slower than Usain Bolt. Now I am imagining Usain Bolt going toe-to-toe with a wombat. Why don't we just move on, because I might get stuck here thinking about that for a while. Their teeth don't stop growing. The next time you complain about your wisdom teeth coming through, spare a thought for the wombat. We learned earlier that their teeth never stop growing, and this is to ensure that they never just grind away their when they are munching away on roots, shrubs, vegetables, grasses. They generally, as we learned before, eat some of the tougher, harder stuff. So if they didn't have teeth that didn't stop growing, they maybe would be at risk of losing some teeth and starving. So that is awesome that nature has sort of accommodated for that. Now, I'm going to take a break and just take a drink of my tea here. I'm having to pause through this episode a couple of times just because my dog loves to go outside and just bark at everything. She likes to defend her territory, maybe not in the same way the wombat does, and exactly the same way, I suppose. Seeing as that our house is I guess considered her territory, her domain, I'm very glad she doesn't mark her territory inside like she does outside. I'm going to take a quick break to drink some of my tea here. I just have a simple chamomile. I didn't bother to put honey in it or anything. I ate a fairly large meal, so I just love having chamomile at the end of the day or at the beginning of the day. So any of you out there that are still awake, maybe it's the middle of the day for you, you can take a drink with me. If not, that is totally okay. I just love chamomile. You know what I would love to do is come out with my own chamomile tea. That would just be, maybe that's in the future, maybe that's in the horizons, I'm not sure. Anyways, let's get back to the show. So they take quite a long time to digest a meal. So I can see here maybe how they are related to koalas in this way, because koalas, due to the nature of their diet, take a very, very long time to digest. Well, the wombat takes it a step further, and for them it takes about 4 to 6 days to digest a meal, which is a long time. In comparison to humans, right, we do not take anywhere near there to digest a meal. And this has most likely to do with the fact not only of their digestive system, but of their specific diet. Now, they are the second largest of all marsupials on the planet. The largest living marsupial is the red kangaroo, which we covered on the kangaroo episode. However, the largest ever marsupial was a diprotodon, which was a wombat-like creature that stood at around 2 meters tall. So this is, of course, an animal that is no longer with us, but I think it's just very cool that a wombat-like creature stood 2 meters tall. That could be a little bit frightening. Let's move on to the final fact of the show, and I always love to end off the show with the name. Where does the name come from? Where does it originate from? What is the epistemology of the word? The name wombat comes from the now nearly extinct Darug language spoken by the Aboriginal Darug people who originally inhabited the Sydney area. So I could not find what wombat means in that language. It didn't say, and also this was only written on the Wikipedia page. Those of you who know Wikipedia can be edited by pretty much anybody. Take this with a grain of salt. I don't know how accurate it is necessarily, but I think that's very cool if it is in fact credible. Wow, what a fun episode. I'm so grateful to have an audience like you guys, and every time I do this podcast, it's just such a treat. So thank you, Sarah, and your daughter. Thank you guys for listening. If you want to have an animal on the podcast, you can send me a message on Relax with Animal Facts on Instagram, or you can email relaxwithanimalfacts@gmail.com. If you have trouble finding anything in terms of the store, in terms of Instagram, the blog, whatever it be, you can just head on over to relaxwithanimalfacts.com, and it's all right there for you. So thank you guys so very much for listening. I hope to see you on the next podcast episode with the next animal. Take care.